At the stroke of the midnight hour, when the world sleeps, India will awake to life and freedom.
After the prolonged struggle for freedom, India got independence on 15th August 1947. But the nation paid heavy price for this independence. While leaving, the British carved out a separate nation for the Muslims called Pakistan. Consequent to which, Muslim majority states acceded to Pakistan and Hindu majority states stayed with India. Before we get into the issue of accession of Jammu and Kashmir to India, let us understand how Maharaja Gulab Singh created this large and diverse state in northwest India. Maharaja Gulab Singh became the ruler of Jammu on 17 June 1822. Maharaja Ranjit Singh, the then ruler of Punjab, himself anointed Maharaja Gulab Singh at Jio Pota Akhnu. With able statesmanship and great military prowess in the form of brilliant generals like General Zorawar Singh, Maharaja Gulab Singh not only consolidated territories but went on to conquer Ladakh, Gilgit, Baltistan and Western Tibet by 1841. By virtue of the Treaty of Amritsar signed between Raja Gulab Singh and Governor General of India on 16th March 1846, he got sovereignty over the entire state of Jammu and Kashmir. After India's partition in 1947, the fourth and the last Dogra ruler, Maharaja Hari Singh, acceded state of Jammu and Kashmir to India on 26 October 1947, ending the saga of a remarkable 100 years of Dogra rule.
On 26 October 1947, J&K became the part of India by signing Instrument of Accession. This was a historic day for people of India as well as residents of J&K. This Instrument of Accession was signed by then Maharaja Hari Singh with Government of India, by which legally J&K became the part of India. Although J&K was socially, culturally, emotionally, politically part of India right from the ancient times. There are many confusions being created by some vested interests regarding the Instrument of Accession. But one point is very much clear, that this Instrument of Accession was signed by Maharaja, who was legally competent and authorized to sign this Instrument of Accession.
The Instrument Accession is legal tender. There were 560 plus states in India, princely states. They all had signed the Instrument of Accession and their accession was absolutely valid. There was no earthly reason for Lord Mountbatten to impose any kind of ifs and buts and conditionalities on this Instrument of Accession.
On 26th of October 1947 of acceding to India was the best option for Maharaja, because staying independent he would not have been able to afford with inimical nature of Pakistan on its west and not much of the support forthcoming from China as well as Afghanistan. So, and the option of joining Pakistan he ruled out because Pakistan was a theoretic state based on religion, and he knew that his subjects were secular minded and they will be very happy and prosperous in secular India. Therefore, his decision to accede to India was perfectly right.
Jammu and Kashmir did become a part of India, but it didn't happen easily. To annex it militarily, Pakistan attacked Kashmir on 22nd October 1947.
When Muzaffarabad was attacked suddenly on 22nd October, Pakistani captured Muzaffarabad without much fight because it was a total surprise. And on 23rd, they moved on to Srinagar.
When the raiders were knocking on the gates of Srinagar, we had 4 J&K rifles. One of the best battalions of the state forces was in Dumel. And it had 2 companies of Muslims and 2 companies of Dogras. And they had 5 military crosses fighting against the Japanese in Burma. And that was guarding the main gateway, the doorway to Srinagar. This was where they had subverted the Muslim component and they had with treachery killed their own comrades, and suddenly the way to Srinagar lay open. There was nothing in between. All the state forces battalions had been stretched from Skardu down till Jammu and Cham and Jodian. You see, they were all spread out by pinprick attacks as part of a deliberate design. This is the time at which, when the road to Srinagar lay wide open, Maharaja Hari Singh called his Chief of Army Staff, Brigadier Rajinder Singh, and told him to stop the raiders at all cost. Now, he was the Chief of the Army Staff of the J&K State Forces. He could have easily called a colonel, a brigadier, a major, a captain, and told him to go and carry out these orders. But true to the man, he went himself with about 250 men that he could gather from the garrison in Srinagar, all the, orderlies, batmen, etc. He sort of brought them together, created a column, and he went forth. One of the greatest things he did was he blew up the Uri Bridge. And because this bridge was blown up, the 500 trucks that the Masood Pathan tribesmen were getting to carry away the loot and the women for sale in the markets of Bukhara and Kabul and all that bloody places. What a way of liberation. You see, they stopped and they had to wait. 48 hours delay was imposed on the raiders. And then the raiders tried to cut him behind, so he fought a rear guard action, a delaying action, because he knew if he had tried to take a stand anywhere, they would have simply bypassed him and gone through, right? So he fought a delaying action after action after action until, they got behind him, put a roadblock behind him, and in that roadblock he was ambushed and he was hit. He came out with a machine gun. They wanted to evacuate him. He said, "I'm done for. Don't worry about me. Give me a machine gun. I'll hold them off as long as possible. You get back and tell, Srinagar that this has happened." And that was the last scene of Brigadier Rajinder Singh.
From 23rd to 27th morning, when he was last ambushed near Boniar and died heroically fighting virtually to the last man with his pistol in his own hand. But by that time he had done his duty. He had given 4 days to Maharaja Hari Singh to accede to India and also protected the Srinagar airfield, where the Indian Army landed barely 6 hours after his death at night, 2 o'clock on the night 26-27. That's how he saved the state. He enabled Maharaja Hari Singh to accede to India, then Indian Army to land and reach Baramulla 27th, 10 o'clock. So this is the contribution of Brigadier Rajinder Singh, who was given the first Gallantry Award of Independent India, Mahavir Chakra. With him, many other Dogra soldiers also lost their lives, but they gave their best and achieved a miracle. And it's a world record. Nowhere in the world history, Chief of Staff of an independent country, like Commander-in-Chief of the country, had gone with 100 men, fought for 4 days and achieved the aim, saved the state, which today is part of India as Crown of India.
But the question remains, why Maharaja Hari Singh delayed the accession?
When British decided to partition India into two countries, Pakistan being a Muslim state, it was a problem for Maharaja Hari Singh because his state had 75% Muslims, and even Muslims were not ready to join any of the two. Muslim conference wanted J&K to accede to Pakistan, whereas Abdullah's National Party wanted to join India with some reservations, whereas Maharaja Hari Singh also thought that if there was a problem like this, the state could remain as it is, independent. So these were the three options, and that's what took some time to decide. Because he was afraid that if he decided before 15th August, there might be uprising. If he joined Pakistan, the others will agitate. If he joined India, the pro-Pakistanis will create a revolution, and at that time there was nobody to help him or the state because India was burning at that time. Therefore he thought that he would get some more time to decide, and that's how he could not join any of the dominion by 15th August.
One of the disturbing features of accession and the events related to it is the sustained stingy attitude of the historians and political commentators towards Maharaja Hari Singh. It began right from the beginning when he had to leave Srinagar for Jammu. He has himself recorded that it was on the advice of Mr. Menon, the State Secretary and the right-hand man of Sardar Patel, who had been specifically sent to deal with the situation. The commentators, I don't know how they do it, what evidence they had, but a number of them, they have said that there was total confusion in Srinagar and people were running helter and skelter. And finally Maharaja Hari Singh, he left his people behind and fled to the safety of Jammu.
Jammu and Kashmir was not a state like any other princely state of India. It was unique in its size, composition and geographical location. In fact, it was an empire of various mini states. Each state was diverse from the other in their culture, language, ethnicity, etc. So to assume that ruling J&K state was as simple as any other princely state of India would be unrealistic. Therefore, to assume that accession to India or Pakistan would be as easy as other princely states would be equally unrealistic.
The Hurriyat would have been ruling there in Jammu and Kashmir had the Maharaja not signed the instrument of accession. Thank God, the people of Jammu and Kashmir are safe. Even more the people of Jammu, Ladakh, Kargil, Rajouri, Punch, they don't want these to merge with Pakistan. If there are just a handful of these jihadi elements who have Wahhabized the state, they have radicalized the state, they have made it into one vast communal ghetto of communal poison and hatred.
It is a tribute to Maharaja Hari Singh's greatness that he faced all the challenges single-handedly and stoically maintained his dignity while taking the toughest decisions and making the biggest sacrifices one after the other that he called upon to make by the builders of modern India. 7 decades after accession, the Grateful Society appreciates Maharaja Hari Singh's rule and wisdom during the most turbulent times of history and his historical accession to India.